So this is Shinuchi machine person, and yeah. So we were making udon noodles here, and so as I kind of explained, right? So this is a flour that's like around like 8.5% protein content. That's for like specifically blended for udon noodles in Japan. And then this is the salt, right? So we are adding this much of salt to this much of flour, right? So that's kind of a lot of salt and the vinegar. That's usually 1% of the weight of the flour. And but like this water and it's like this is just liquid ingredients, right? And these are solid ingredients. And usually like we do the hydration ratio like 50%, so 50% to the weight of the flour. So yeah, and then like the mixer unit that Shimizu machine has, like it's 12.5 kilograms of flour, right? So like you can mix up to 12.5 kilograms of solid ingredients, and on top of it you're adding the liquid, right? So so you're like at maximum you're making about 18.5, 8.75 kilograms of dough at the time, like at a maximum from this machine. So let's get started. And so we are putting the flour, right? Putting flour in there first, and we want to start the mixer without the liquid first. So we set the timer 1 minute. So we want to mix it like for 1 minute, just with the flour, and because we want to sort of break all the like chunks of the flour that are like there's any into smaller pieces before we start the hydration. And it means actually dissolving this salt, right? We need to dissolve like all the salt thoroughly to make salt water, right? Salt water. But that's a lot of salt, right? That's a lot of salt. So we need to like, you know, put the water in there and then like stir it, melt it, and put it back in, and then do it again. Just make sure that it's all melted in there, right? And vinegar. So even though we add vinegar, right? It's that well, like when we cook the noodles, like all this salt, like almost like 90%, 95% of like salt and vinegar are dissolved in the cooking water. So we don't taste, like when we buy into noodles, like we don't taste much of the salt or like vinegar from the noodles. So don't worry about them. Um, so while we mix it, right? So Megumi prepare the dough in advance so that we don't waste any time just watching the mixer. So look at the dough, right? This size of dough, like, so one chunk of dough is it's about like size of golf ball, right? Size of golf ball, and so that's like how big the noodle, I mean dough chunk is. So it's a very soft dough, and as I said, well, in Kagawa prefecture, like in Sanuki udon world, like or other types of udon noodles, like people used to use their feet, right, to step on them, right, step on them, like work the dough, but like it's a hard, like difficult work to do. So we invented this press unit. It's very about applying equal amount of pressure to like entire area of the dough. So it's So so like it makes the job like this. It's actually very labor intensive job, and like but it makes the job like really easy. So you press it right, and then like the dough flatten it like, and then so all the like crumbles dough like comes like one big chunk of dough, right? And then so look at what she's doing. Like she's like folding the sides inwards, and so that like outside the dough, like outer areas of dough, gets pressed, and then get worked, right? So that in this way, we're applying equal amount of pressure to the entire area of the dough. And that which is like really hard to do, like like in hand making. You gotta have like experience, and it takes you long hours, almost like 30 minutes, like 45 minutes to, well, just imagine yourself like kind of stepping the dough, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, trying to press like well, entire area of the dough. That's a hard job. And again, like, so this is the time, third time like pressing, right? Third time pressing. So we do it like we do this press process like 3 to 5 times, depending on the condition of the dough. So the mixing is done. So like mixing, just 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, and I kind of talked about like in the previous class about like so higher the hydration ratio, the shorter the mixing time. So it's just 5 minutes. Um, but then like if you're doing like a Hakata ramen noodle or something, you need to mix it for 15 minutes. It's a long time. Sorry, like yeah, my mistake. Like so she mixed it for like 4 minutes first, and then with the remaining with water, and then mix it for 1 more minute. Like so, the total mixing time is like 5 minutes. And then after pressing, right, what she's doing is like dividing the dough into smaller pieces, small piece like small enough for her to be able to sheet it and cut it. Because this work table like huge machine is like limited, right? So she's dividing the dough into like kind of small enough pieces like for her to be able to kind of sheet it like kind of efficiently on this machine. So that's about like 1.1 kilograms to like maybe like 1.5 kilograms per piece. And so she's putting the dough, the plastic bag, and this is the first day, like day one prep, like prepping the dough, the last process, and putting the dough back into the resting chamber, and remember the temperature we have to set, right? It's 18 degrees Celsius. This is a second resting process. So setting the temperature to 18, right? 18. So this is a resting chamber that like, so she set the temperature like 18, and then like Currently that's 10. Actually, temp was like 11, and so the it turns on the heater to increase the temperature inside. And but like she's well prepared, so like she prepared the dough right in advance yesterday, right? This is like dough from yesterday. So let's say that like this is the day two. Let's pretend that this is the day two, and then she's going to first like we need to like flatten it and yeah, sheet it to the final thickness. So she basically has to flatten it to the thickness, that's thin enough, like that's thin enough for that dough to be able to like kind of go through, pass through the bar, the safety bar. So the safety bar is like low enough for any human hand to kind of go through, right? Go through. So yeah, and then but like the dough needs to go through like between the bar, like underneath bar. So like the dough is like kind of still too thick. So she's actually using the press machine, pressing it to like flatten it first. You can do it by hand, but like it's maybe too hard, right? Maybe too hard, like maybe like too bouncy. So it takes your time. So it's a good idea to like use a press machine to flatten it, and then we can immediately start the sheeting process. So again, this machine uses sheeting like roller unit that allows us to be like gradually thin the dough, right, to retain the noodle dough texture. That's basically well networked gluten inside the dough. So we need to we need like make like multiple rounds by sheeting by shifting the gear up one by one. Of course, you could skip it, but like it's not good for the dough texture. So yeah, we shift it up one by one. And another thing, like I want to know about like the sheeting process in the sheet machine is that like, well, unlike Richmond machine, that you like allows you just to like sheet it like in a single direction, like one direction only. This machine allows you to be like sheet it like thin it multiple direction. Like you just the way like just like how which angle, right? You are just inserting the dough right to the roller unit. So you can sheet it like multiple angles, which actually strengthen the dough in a way that like if you if you pull it like in different directions, it sustains the pull, right? But then like if you pull the dough like that's like processed like an enrichment machine, it kind of easily rips like from like if you pull it from sideways. So that's another feature. And then so she's actually measuring the dough thickness. See that it's 6.4, but like it's a millimeter, but like it's she doubled it, like she likes the double sheet, like so you need to well divide it in half. 6.4, one and a half, like divided by 2, right? So that's 3.2 millimeter in thickness. So that's a good thickness for the Sanuki udon noodles. So we can start the cutting process. just start a cutting process, and then um, again, like the width is determined by the speed of the conveyor belt, right? That's carrying the dough sheet, right? And then um, this Shinichi machine has four speeds, like four speeds channels, four speeds that you can preset, right? You can preset the four speeds, the volumes, like there are four volumes, right? Like each volume, you can set it. You can set it at a different speed, and in front you have the switches, right? You can switch the speeds around from one to four, right? And so depending on the type of noodle you're making, right? And you can preset the speed, right? Conveyor speed, which means that like width, right? Width, cut width. You can preset the cut width, and then at the like just the switching of the yeah the switching of like between like different volumes or different speed, right? You could just sort of cutting it like for different type of noodles. So as she slices it out, right? It's like noodles are like lined up like nicely, and so we need to dust the starch, right? Dust the starch, and then so she's like, look at how she's doing. Like, so she's taking the noodles by center and then kind of like combing them and then straighten them, right? And then place them in the like plastic container, and they are ready to be cooked in a noodle cooker. So it looks yeah, so like these noodles, I wish you could like touch them. Like they are very soft. And then like when they are cooked and like if you bite into them, like just they're very chewy. Like it's very thick noodles, even though they're soft, right? They're thick, so like they have like good bite into them. So that's some gyudo noodles, and nothing like she made me prepared is so it's not an application that you could do Richmond. I don't know. I'm sorry, like a Shinichi machine, and so pasta. Then so again, like it's just a different recipes, from like udon noodles. Like and processes are kind of similar. It's very similar, but like in different recipes. And you can make something like this, like pasta, like but like kind of pasta that's like that's I think that's very different. That's close to like kind of handmade pasta because of the hydration, like really high hydration, um, and then the all these processes that are utilized to develop the like gluten network inside the dough. So they are very similar to like handmade pasta that are made by you know pasta making masters. And again, like notice like how she's kind of inserting this dough into the roller unit. Like she's changing the directions, she's changing the angles of like like direction, like sheeting. So these this dough is like sheeted the different directions, which means that like they're kind of being strengthened. It's being strengthened like different directions. So at each round, like sheeting, like she's shifting the gear up, which means like narrowing the roller gap gradually. And again, notice like how she's dusting the dough at each round of sheeting, just to make sure that like it's not gonna stick, right? Make sure it's not gonna stick. We're going through a 10th gear, and you can now starting to see the thickness, right? Thickness of dough like being sheeted, right? Displayed on the thickness sensor, right? So that's 5.0 millimeter, 5.0 millimeter. Could you show it again? It's 5.1, 5.0. So again, like she's um, measuring the two sheets, two layers of those sheet. So we need to like divide it by half, right? So divided by two, so like 2.5 ish, one sheet, right? Okay, she's going for another round of sheeting. So it's getting very, very thin. And then, as you get thinner and thinner, right? Well, it feels softer because, well, like thinner, like, and then like the dough itself is very soft, right? So it's really soft. And then it's like kind of like, kind of handling like a kind of like, thin like blanket or something. So as you thin it like further and further, like you need to kind of handle it with care. So I'm just gonna start cutting. Okay, it's done cutting, and so if you slide out the tray, so you get all this pasta that's I think like that's like really similar to like kind of, well, I say like fettuccine, like, sorry, I'm not familiar with the type of pasta that's like, but like it's very flat and wide pasta, and then like they're very good. It's just that it's probably different from dry pasta, like other types of pasta, like that are like lower in hydration ratio, and these are very similar to like ones that are like made by pasta making artisans, with years and years of experience making this type of pasta. And so that's what that like huge machine is like designed to do, capable of doing. And it's like kind of mimicking all these techniques and skills that are cultivated over years of like hard work by noodle making artisans. And it's just, and then like making them like efficiently, right? And so we pack like all these like skills and like techniques by learning how all these like noodle master like professionals like make noodles. and put it into the mechanics of the machines. And so the huge machines like capable of like producing this type of like high quality noodles. And but like it takes no day off, and it's very durable, and it's very precise, and it's amazing. Like it fits right into small kitchen restaurants.